Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the River End podcast. My name is Bradley, and we've got lots to discuss on today's show. We're going to be talking about the last two games and the season as a whole so far. I've also joined by George Cory. So, how are you, mate?
I'm right, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to this.
Good, good. And of course, we're both volunteers at Dover, so we're going to be discussing what life's like for us at the moment, how we got into it, as well as I'm sure we're going to be talking about your infamous shirt collection as well, George.
Yeah, that's
And
a good one.
yeah, we'll also be looking forward to Braintree as well. There's a little preview there. So, to start things off, we've done 4 points in the first three games. Would you have taken out at the start of the season?
Yeah, of course. I think we've had some good results. I think it's good to get a win, a draw, and a loss on the board straight away. I think all the players can sort of process how that feels. Things are different when you win a game. Things are different when you lose a game. So we've done all three, which is nice. Yeah, obviously everyone had us rock bottom. With the bookies' favourites to go down. Everyone thought our pre-season was disastrous. But yeah, I think a draw against Torquay, who were supposedly favourites to win the lot, was a nice sort of first game. And yeah, the win against Slough was a great day out for us. And yeah, nice to get a last-minute winner. And then, Tunbridge the other night, I think a 1-0 loss was not an unfair result. Would have been nice to have got something. But yeah, overall, I think it's been a good start for us.
I think one of the things that has made me the happiest about the squad is that it's clear we've got some consistent performers. Billy Terrell, Charlie Naylor, John Ungar as well, and Zidane Sutherland. I think having those core players in there is going to make selection a lot easier for Mitch as well. And you just have a sense of confidence that those players in the lineup, we've got a fighting chance in the following games.
Yeah, it's a completely different atmosphere to what it was like. Obviously, we get to see a little bit more being the other side of the terraces, but yeah, I think that they're all really nice lads. They're all hungry, they're all passionate, they all want to be there. They a lot of them have come up from either lower leagues or youth academies and stuff, and they've all got a point to prove. And I think that's beginning to show.
And just starting with Slough, so we made the very, very long trip up because of all the traffic on the M25, which God, felt like an absolute age driving through there.
But,
And on the way back, with sat navs telling us to go different ways as well.
yeah, it was
Well, that was
nice.
a disaster. Yeah, it was a disaster, wasn't it? I mean, you're in the back of my car, so you would have struggled even more with the lack of leg room.
Yeah, I spent most of the time listening to Arsenal on the radio, but even
Oh, okay.
even that was delayed by half an hour, but that was okay.
It's all right. We got there in the end, but I think I don't know about you, but in my opinion, I think we were quite fortunate. I'm not going to say lucky because that's a bit too far. I think a bit fortunate to take the 3 points because I don't. I think it was a game where neither side performed to the highest of levels. I think it was a bit of a scrappy game.
Yeah, the first half especially, I think, was a little bit slow. Took a little while for each team to find their rhythm. I didn't think we played badly. I think it was quite an enjoyable game. I think non-league paper had our entertainment value up quite high on their star rating, and I agree with that. It was good fun. Obviously, the things that happened in the last few seconds of the game increased that a lot, but yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah, I mean, there were some outstanding performances in that game. I mean, Billy Terrell, I'm probably going to mention him many times today, but Billy Terrell was absolutely phenomenal. Incredible he was. The saves he made, first half, second half, and against Tunbridge as well. We got a keeper. We really do. If
Yeah,
Bournemouth don't recall him, then we got a solid keeper for the rest of the season.
yeah, I think if we keep him the whole season, that'd be great. That trio of highlights that I put out, which thankfully someone recorded behind the goal. There was those two obvious ones. One of them was from a header from a corner. But yeah, there was one where there was one that hit the far post, and the guy on the Slough radio said, "Oh, he's definitely got his fingertips to that," and it was yeah. He's like a cat in goal, which is great. His distribution's fantastic, kicks the ball really well. Yeah, I think we're really lucky to have him.
Well, you can see the quality. I mean, when I spoke to him before the Torquay game, and I asked him about the sort of what it was like at Bournemouth as a youth player, and a lot of time they do mix with the senior players, and he was telling me like Callum Wilson, for example, was just something else. He was, and it can show that the quality is coming through, and it is arguably Premiership quality that he's got, and he just needs to unlock it and take his game further because he is young and he is going to make mistakes, but he is definitely one to look out for the future.
Yeah, I can see why they've given him to us. He's obviously going to get bombarded with shots for the rest of the season, which you know can do nothing but improve a goalkeeper. So it's yeah, it's good practice for him for sure.
So against Slough, so we took the first goal in the first half. It was a Dan Sutherland finish. It was a Bello laid it off for him, and it was just a nice first time finish into the far corner. I think Zidane, he's going to be a confidence player. He keeps scoring goals. He's going to be at least 15 goals this season, at least. He says to me he's going to get 20, and I hope he's right.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, we haven't had that in a long time. I don't think there's not as many strikers in the last few seasons that have scored more than 10. But no, he seems a good sort of tricky player. He's got quite a low centre of gravity. He can turn a defender quite easily.
You can tell he wants it. He looks like the player who's most likely to score on the pitch, in my opinion, whenever we play.
Yeah, yeah, he's clearly got an eye for goal. You can even see against Tonbridge, he had that offside goal. He was straight through the defence and put it straight in. But yeah, it's sort of similar goal at Slough. But yeah, he's one to watch for sure, I think.
I think I've got no shame in saying it, but when he first joined, I had my doubts just because of the level he was playing at before and how last minute it was. But um, he has proved me wrong. Absolutely proved me wrong. I think we would when he picked up that knock against Slough, and I was thinking, oh, is he going to be in the Tunbridge game? Is he not? That kind of worried me a lot. And I think that just shows a testament to his character as well. That he's got the opportunity. He's come from Bromsgrove, and he's determined for it. And that's the same with a lot of these players.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I'll admit I didn't know who he was when he came in, but he's a lovely guy. Clearly got a point to prove. I'm sure if he does well here and if he does score 15 to 20 goals, I'm sure someone else will snap him up if we don't end up retaining him. But yeah, he's clearly got talent. Yeah, he's he looks promising. So hopefully he can kick on.
And so Slough then scored next after half time. They had a good restart, and it was another corner that we conceded from, another set piece. It
Yeah,
seems to be the recurring issue at the moment is are these set pieces.
yeah, it's something we need to watch for sure. There's been multiple times in the three games we've played where we've looked like we've struggled to, get a clearance in from a set piece or just simply head the ball away, especially at that back post. Yeah, it's something we need to work on for sure. And I think it's yeah, we've got big tall players. We just sort of need someone commanding to head that ball away.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Naylor seems to be very good in the air. And even Mike as well. They're all good in the air. It's just they don't seem to have the organisation and the awareness, and even just the chemistry. Whether it's because they're just a brand new team, they're gelling together, but it just seems corners and free kicks from the either side of the box they scare me a lot at the moment because even if they get the first header, it's also the rebound, the second ball where it's going. And we conceded against Torquay from a corner, we conceded against Slough from corner again. We almost conceded twice against Tunbridge from corners if it weren't for Billy Terrell making some outstanding saves and an amazing save against Slough again. So but Mitch knows this. He's going to have a look at that because otherwise, other teams will see that as a weakness and just try and win the game through corners and crosses.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that's an easy fix in training. It's all about positioning and marking, and something that we can work on and you know implement a new system or whatever. But it should be an easy fix if we can get the hang of it.
Yeah, and Luke Baptiste coming on and scoring that final. I wasn't expecting it. I thought if anything, Slough were going to pinch the winner, but
I was ready to get on the pitch and take some photos at 1-0 and yeah, I mean for Bello to get that ball, he pressed so
yeah,
well,
definitely.
and I thought Luke, if you watch the highlights, Luke's positioning to begin with in midfield, I think he was running around like a headless chicken and was pressing everyone. And then once Bello had got the ball, he got himself into the right position. Put a bit of pace on the defender and shot and got it in, and it was one of the best moments of my
Oh, it
overseas.
was some atmosphere, wasn't it, at the end?
Yeah, I mean it was good fun. I mean the highlights show my face as a picture, so yeah, I had a good time.
I mean, for me, it made the trip both ways worth it. Just from that goal, it was because I think the last time we scored a 90th minute winner was back in 2019. So it's been
Yeah,
a long time. I think that was what Matt Gerrard told me. I haven't double checked it, but I'm sure he is correct. But it's been a long time since we've had a winner like that. So that was truly remarkable. I mean, we've had some late goals before that have been amazing moments. Ruel Sotirio against against Southend, sorry, in the FA Cup. But that was in the 84th. But to have a 90, I mean, I know there's going to be more injury time this year. What do you think about that? Actually, having more injury time?
depends. If it's a game like Tunbridge was, where there's been a lot of fouls and a lot of substitutions and injuries, and you're losing 1-0, and you got the chance to win it, then obviously it's good. But if you're a few goals down, you kind of just want the game to end. But yeah,
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? I think Bath must have been feeling that
yeah,
when they lost 6-2 to Western Supermare. But yeah, it was some experience. I think it would do Luke a lot of good. I mean, when we spoke to him after the game, he was saying about how the whole atmosphere in the dressing room has completely changed from last year, and it seems to go more as a group. And I don't know about you. I mean, we weren't there behind the scenes last year, but it definitely does feel like a really strong group.
yeah, and I'm sure those academy graduates have got the best experience of it. I'm sure, they've all been there through Hess's reign, and now they're there with Mitch. But even I'm sure all the fans can see it. It's a completely fresh group of players, and I think they all know each other and they're all friends, and it's um, it's much more positive than it was for sure.
Yeah, and you seem to see that on the pitch as well, the way they communicate. I mean, James Dunn's been absolutely brilliant at his communication, I think, leading the team, which is what I said in the first episode about how important that's going to be, because he's not the fastest anymore, but he doesn't seem out of place. Like some people thought he would be. Say he's too slow, but he's playing his position quite well, actually, I think.
Yeah, and I think having someone like Henry Young in there next to him in midfield, someone with a
And
bit
Amifu
more,
Ozo when he was fit.
yeah, a bit more pace, and someone that can get forward a bit more than Dunn can. I think it's a good partnership.
I was quite impressed as well. So I'm jumping ahead a bit, but for the Tunbridge game, Zidane obviously missed his penalty, and we went on the pitch, and he was absolutely devastated by it. And what I really liked was the way James Dunn went straight over. I mean, some may say he was a bit hard on him, but I thought it was what he needed. Just a real kick up the backside and say, look, it happens. Everyone misses penalties. Get on with it. I really like that from James Dunn. Just it's a bit like reminds me of Mitch a little bit. Just don't take any prisoners. Just we move on from it. We go forward. We go forward. We go forwards. And I think that leadership is so important in the squad, and it's going to make a big difference for the season having that in there.
Yeah, I mean that's why he's got the captain's armband. He's the most senior player there, even more senior than Mitch. So it makes a big difference having someone with that much experience for all these young players. And yeah, he's clearly proven his worth, and that's the reason Mitch has got him in. He's a good man to have around, I'm sure.
So talking about Tunbridge, so it was a game where I think the 1-0 score line was probably deserved by Tunbridge. I don't think we necessarily deserved to have taken a win. It would be nice to have got a point, but it's one of those. There were a few things I highlighted from that game. One of them is I thought we were quite wasteful in possession. Every time we seemed to get the ball, it was frustrating because it seems we just lost it within a few seconds of gaining it back again.
Yeah, we definitely struggled to retain possession, especially in the midfield. They didn't really give us a chance to sort of make any driving runs through the
They
wing or
had a
anything.
very high line, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah, we didn't, weren't very good on the second balls. We didn't challenge very well in the air. But no, Tunbridge are an experienced side. They did well last season. Got a lot of the same players, but yeah, I'm not sure if it was sort of fitness levels, because obviously playing Saturday, Tuesday, it's can be difficult, I suppose. But yeah, we definitely seemed off it. It's slightly sloppy um, in our passing and sort of ball control and stuff like that. But yeah, it was definitely frustrating at times.
Yeah, so when I looked at their first goal on the highlights, it looked like we've won the ball in the defensive area. We distributed it up to Nakaji, who was sort of in a midfield area, but that was purely just because of how high the Tunbridge line was. So
Yeah,
Tunbridge stole it and able to attack straight away.
yeah. I think George played a lot deeper than he had done the previous two games, which even when we got the ball, there wasn't as much up front because he was sitting in the midfield. But
I
yeah,
think again that's just because of how high they played, and
yeah.
we did break their defense once, but it was by the smallest of margins because it was offside, but it was so tight.
I've looked at the highlights. It's a funny angle, but I think it was centimeters offside. It must have been
I
incredibly
think
close.
it was his left shoulder from the looks of
Yeah,
it.
he,
That was just offside.
his feet looked level, but I think his body was,
It
credit
was a
to
good
the.
finish though. It was a
It
brilliant
was,
finish, calm finish.
yeah. I think yeah, it would have been interesting to see VAR on that. But
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think looking at it, I think it was offside, but only just. But like I said, I think you've got to be looking at the finish as well. It was really calm, slotted it through the legs of the keeper. And he's a very good keeper as well. Henley is. I'm not too sure how we got man of the match. It would have been from the penalty, I imagine, but because he didn't really have to do too much, but he is still a
no,
very good goalkeeper.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. We were sort of in his ear saying that he was a few yards off his line for that penalty. It should have been retaken, but I don't know if that's true. But
No, I don't think it was true either. But you got a call for it, haven't you?
yeah. But no, I mean, and the Tunbridge goal, I think we were slightly unlucky. It sort of their shot dragged along the floor, went past three of our players, and ended up in that bottom corner. I think Billy Terrell was pretty unsighted because he had sort of three defenders in front of him, and yeah, it just sort of snuck in the bottom left corner. But yeah, it
I
was
mean,
an
they could have
annoying.
had more as well. There was one particular highlight where Mike was sort of jogging back and the ball went in and he sort of hit it towards his own goal and it could have well been another own goal. But luckily he hit the post and I don't quite know how the Tunbridge player missed the rebounds, but phew, it was it, it, they could have had more, put it that way. And I think we were quite fortunate to only concede the one and unfortunate to have not scored a single goal. I
Yeah,
think on another day there'd be a lot more goals from both sides.
it's one of those games where we could have lost 3 or 4-0, but also could have won 2-1. So it's yeah,
But you'll get games like that, won't you? So
fine margins always.
yeah, we'll get games like that. But you can't win them all. I don't think any team's ever won every single game.
No.
So it's not going to happen. It's just how what'll be interesting for me is Braintree. I mean, we're going to go on to Braintree, but later. But how we respond to the loss, because they were dejected after that game. But when Mitch gave them a pretty good speech, saying about how we write it off, we go back, we fight, and I like that attitude.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, we just got to see if it translates to the pitch now. Because I'm sure, because I think they're training tonight, they'll be working so hard, looking what went wrong and trying to correct it. And Braintree's going to be it's a different test, Braintree. Like I said, I'll get into it more a bit later, but I think they're a team that have lost some key players and hasn't necessarily replaced them with the same caliber, in my opinion. So it'd be interesting to see how that game plays out.
yeah. I mean, I'm hoping for a decent response. I know Charlie Naylor tweeted that they're ready to go again on Saturday. I'm hoping there's
Zidane's definitely ready. He made that very clear to me that he's ready for this game.
yeah. I mean, I hope there's a decent atmosphere and crowd at Crabble. I'd like to think people have seen a positive improvement in the side over the last couple of games, even though we lost against Tunbridge, and come up and support the boys because I'm sure they'll put on a good game, especially if they want to get the win after that loss.
And so, of course, we're now both volunteers. They're doing media work. I mean, being honest, you do quite a bit more than I do, actually. I just do the interviews, but just tell everyone what your role is as a volunteer, how you got into it, how you enjoying it, just that sort of thing.
Yeah, so Yeah, I mean, it probably goes back as far as when they originally put that job out after Richard Harvey left, when they were looking for a kit man and sort of a media person. I was tempted to apply for it. Obviously, I work full time anyway, but I thought, oh, maybe I could do that in the evenings and then obviously on Saturdays and whatever.
Yeah,
Didn't apply for it in the end, and John got the job, which is great. He's a really experienced writer, and his match reports are brilliant. And I kind of followed it along, and I said to Jim at the start of, well, it must have been at the start of pre-season, that if he ever needs a hand, then I'd be happy to volunteer. And a few more weeks went by, and then there were a few times where we struggled slightly with our communications around players leaving, or not signing, or whatever. And I just thought, well, I work in marketing, I work in communications, I've got a media degree, and I wanted to help out. Obviously, it's difficult sitting there and watching the club sort of shoot itself in the foot so many times, and I knew that I could help and improve things. And I went back to Jim and said, I really want to help out, and I can do this, this, and this. I said the same to John, and I think he was quite pleased to have me on board. John's got a massive role, similar to what Richard Harvey had, where he's helping in the dugout, he's helping in the kit room, he does all the website updates, he does the match reports, and I think his attention to the social media didn't get the time it deserved, which is
yeah.
fair. He's got so much to do, and
I
yeah,
think a
that's
lot of people don't see that as well, just how much he does, because that's something that probably hasn't been publicly announced, is that he does a lot with the kits now as well as Paul and Deborah Harrison. They also help out with the kits as well. You know, just all those little admin things that we sort of all take for granted. He's doing that. So, the time, like you say, to put attention to the social media won't be as it won't be as focused on as perhaps it should have been. But it's not. I don't blame him for it at all. I
no,
think
no,
it's
you're not. Especially when things like graphics, he might not have had that experience, or photography, for example. I've got a master's in photography. It comes pretty naturally to me. So for someone that might not have that experience, it's probably a lot more difficult. But yeah, I mean, as I say, I do a lot of the tweets, a lot of the social media stuff, make all of the graphics, and I do some match day photography. Not the usual kind of in-game stuff. We've still got a club photographer that does that at home games, but a lot of the sort of pre-match warm-ups and the post-match celebrations, hopefully, um, just sort of to get a bit more content out there and make sure things are up to date and information goes out on time and stuff like that. So yeah, it's good to be involved. So
Yeah, it's all important things, and we've seen on Twitter and the forum and stuff just how much of a difference it's making. And again, this is no disrespect to John, because I've got a lot of time for him, but I think it also allows John to sort of focus on the other things like the program. That's another thing he does, with the program
yeah.
and the website and the kits and stuff like that. I think it's all going pretty well, to be honest. But out of your role as a volunteer, what's probably the part you enjoy the most about it?
I guess it's just seeing behind the scenes. I think it's so interesting seeing how a non-league club operates. I'm sure we're completely different to any other team, but I'm sure they're all unique in their own way. I've been going to Dover games since I was sort of 6 or 7 years old, and I spent 5 years in Bournemouth and missed going to Dover so much. And last season was my first full season back, and went to every home game, a few away games, and it became part of my life again. So being even more involved with the club is really exciting. I'm passionate for the club. Um, it's good fun. It's nice interacting with um, the staff. It's nice interacting with the players. Just understanding how the dressing room works, being on the pitch. It's not to the extent of say a Premier League club, but it's one of those like childhood dreams come true, walking on the pitch at
Yeah,
Croughly.
no, I get what you mean, because I had exactly the
Yeah,
same feeling, because I mean, I live just around the corner to it, and it's been, I just go. It's like I said, around the corner. So just go up there and to be like involved in it is, albeit I have quite a very small role as a volunteer. Like I said, all I tend to do is just the interviews, and I help out a little bit with the pre-match warm up in terms of making when the ball gets kicked out, go and kick it back in. It's all little things. But one thing I really enjoy about it is, I think, just how much of a team, part of the team, and I have a role just as small as that. And I remember Torquay, I think it was Torquay at home, first game of the season, and he calls all the players in for a huddle for the huddle afterwards. And me not being a player, I thought, okay, I'll walk the other way. And he demanded both of us were back in there as well.
Yeah,
And
Mitch has
that meant a lot actually. To be honest, that meant a lot, and I really felt part of the team.
yeah, Mitch has been really keen for us to be involved, and I think he understands how the club runs and how important volunteers are. I'm sure if he could get the stewards and the people on the gate in the huddle after the game, I'm sure he would. But it's it's what non-league's all about, really. These clubs don't run without volunteers. Obviously, I don't want to toot our own horn too much, but it's it's one of those things that if these people don't come forward to help out, the club's just gonna spiral downwards, and it won't be much fun for anyone.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's an important thing to say. It's just for me anyway. I think it's important just to say like how well not only Mitch but the whole squad have been just for just to be around, and it's not just for us, but for other fans and staff. It just seems like a really good group to be around at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. Even just to see them after the Slough game, go and hug the fans, and just take time to have photos with people or just to say hello and chat. I think it means a lot to a lot of people. So it's important that we keep that up.
So, George, you are infamous on Twitter for having a very large Dover Athletic memorabilia, shirt, sweatshirt collection. How did that all start?
Um, I don't know. As I say, obviously, I was away at uni for a good few years, and sort of came back into it, and I started collecting my sort of Premier League teams at Arsenal. So I had a few Arsenal shirts, and I sort of was trying to look for some Dover ones, and I think the first one of this collection that I got was the 2001, 2002 Jenkins and Payne home shirt. Um, and that's quite a rare
So, was
one.
that only last year?
Must have been coming up for 2 years ago. I bought that because I actually bought that while I was still in Bournemouth. But yeah, I sort of spiraled out of control from there. Obviously, people like Lee Bowman, big inspiration. He's got a much better collection than I do. A lot of the older ones that are completely unattainable at the moment. He's got a fantastic collection, and seeing stuff like that, it's you're drawn to it. I think it's there's
Has it become
nostalgia.
an addiction?
Yeah, it runs off nostalgia. Obviously, some of these shirts are way before my time, and a lot of the memorabilia from the '90s and stuff is kind of yearning for a time that I wasn't even part of. But I think it's interesting to understand the club's history and sort of football culture in general. It's a a cool thing to. I mean, my wife absolutely doesn't agree, but a cool thing to collect as a fan. So yeah, I mean, I got some posts yesterday, so I think I'm up to, I think it's 46 or 47 shirts now. Yeah, it's uh,
Do you have a favourite?
I mean, the two that I've got from the 1993 to 1995 seasons are probably the best of the bunch.
Is that the one with the green on it?
Yeah, so the yellow and
Yeah, that's my
green
favourite one.
white
Yeah.
Derv. Yeah, the away kit actually came all the way from Australia. I'm not sure how it ended up there in the first place, but yeah,
Maybe it
managed.
was Richard.
Yeah, possibly it could have been. Yeah, a lot of people from Dover moved out to Australia, but yeah, came all the way from there, and then I was really lucky with the home one. The home one's match worn. I forget which player it was now, but yeah, got number 6 on the back, and that was a very lucky find. I'm not sure how the person that I bought that off obtained it, but it was yeah, well worth the money I paid.
Fantastic. So, looking forward to Saturday. We're going to write off Tunbridge. It wasn't the result we wanted, but it's done now. It's in the past. So we're going to look at Braintree. So before we started recording, you said you've made a couple of notes on Braintree. So let's hear it.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'd be honest. I don't really know a lot about the other teams in our league, apart from maybe the Kent ones. Braintree certainly didn't know much about. Obviously, we beat them twice last season, both 3-1 scorelines, which I'll take that right now if that's the result. That would be great.
Me too, yeah.
They finished seventh last season. Similar spot to Tunbridge. I'm not sure if that's a reflection of what they're like this season. Uh, they've had a worse start than we have. They lost to Taunton 2-1 in their first game. They beat Truro 3-2, although they were up 2-0 at half time, and Truro got a couple of goals back, but they scored in the, I think it was like almost like
97th minute. So Truro
yeah,
got a 96th minute equaliser, and
right,
then
yeah,
Braintree scored a 97th minute straight after.
yeah, and then they lost to Maidstone at home 2-1. So yeah, their form's not been great. I think in the previous 10 meetings with Dover, we've won 6 times, drawn once, and lost three. So yeah, I mean, if last season's anything to go by, I'd hope to beat them, but you never
Yeah.
know.
You
You
get the
mentioned,
feeling it's the sort of game you want to get the 3 points on to help us climb up towards hope
yeah,
that mid-table
yeah,
position where I think a lot of people are expecting us to sort of finish if we continue with the momentum that we've got at the moment.
yeah. I mean, you mentioned earlier that they lost a few key players and didn't really recruit any in. Is that right?
Well, they did recruit them. I think similar to Slough, they recruited a lot of players from the lower divisions.
Right.
But what I'll talk about that now actually is the sort of players they've lost and gained. So I think their key players they weren't able to keep hold of. Alfie Matthews, he got 44 appearances last year for Braintree and scored 8 goals. He's gone to I didn't write it down. I think it's Hemel Hempstead. He's gone
Mm.
to now. I'm sure it is. I'll have to double check that. But he was crucial up front. Alfie Pavey. Now we all know Alfie Pavey, and some people like him because he's a goal scorer. Some people didn't like him because he didn't run so much. Personally, I liked him. I thought he may not have suited the pressing style that Mitch was trying to implement, but he was a goal scorer. What
Yeah,
did you
I
think of
mean,
Alfie?
yeah, he was a lovely bloke, but he wasn't my sort of player. He got a few goals, but yeah, I don't. He definitely wouldn't suit the system that we've got now. I mean, he'd be playing in that George Nikar's role, I'm sure, but I don't think he's got the legs to press as much as George does.
Okay, yeah. So he only managed 3 goals from last season and 16 appearances. But when I spoke to a Braintree fan before this, they were actually quite surprised that he had gone because and he was a big part of their push for the playoffs at the end of last season. I mean, they might not every Braintree fan may agree with that, but this one certainly did. But another one they lost is another centre forward called Lamar Reynolds. He's joined Maidstone. He had 39 games for Braintree last year and 6 goals. And I believe he might have already scored for Maidstone this year. I might have got that wrong, but they're losing some key players, the ones that are bringing them the goals.
Yeah,
Um, and their recruitment coming in my opinion, hasn't really matched the same sort of level because there were several other players they've lost to different National League South teams. But I think the biggest noteworthy signings they made is a striker called Tom Blackwell from Chelmsford. I
yeah,
believe
he
he's
got
one of the only. You know that
yeah,
one,
yeah, he scored against
Truro.
yeah, true, yeah,
Yeah, he got their second goal for Truro. That was actually a defensive error from Truro. The defender for Truro just didn't clear their lines, and he managed to grab hold of it. A bit like he sort of reminded me of Zidane Sutherland a little bit, the way he was sort of lurking around and managed to pick it off the defender, and he was able to just take it around the keeper and score. But he played 51 games for Chelmsford last year and scored 9 goals. And the season before that, he played 40 games and scored 8 goals. So he does score. I think that's probably their biggest signing. And like you say, he's already got 1 goal this season out of Braintree's 5. And their other probably biggest signing is Toby Stevenson. He's a left back, young left back. He was at Billericay last year, so a league below. and he made 39 appearances and he had 4 goals. But the season before, because Billericay were of course in the National League South in the 21-22 season, and of course we had that dreadful season that none of us want to talk about again. He made 24 appearances and 1 goal, so he has a bit of experience at this level, and he was a big part of that Billericay side that were pushing for promotion. Um, those two are probably the biggest threats to me. They also got Harry Beadle on loan as well from Colchester. He was at Bishop Stortford last year, and of course they got promoted, and he actually scored their sole goal against Maidstone. And I think another one of their threats I've highlighted is actually one of their key players that they managed to keep from last year in Alfie Payne. They've got a lot of Alfies, don't they?
Yeah.
I've only just noticed that Alfie Matthews, Alfie Pavey, Alfie Payne. But no, Alfie Payne seems like a good sort of holding midfielder. He had 47 appearances last year, so he played every single league game plus the one game in the playoff. And the season before that, he had 37 appearances. So, he's got a lot of experience at this level. Those are the sort of players I think it's important to highlight. So who do you think who are you expecting a good performance from on the Dover side for Saturday?
Um, it's difficult. It's difficult to know. It depends if we've made any changes from a loss against Tunbridge. Obviously, we've said it before. Billy Terrell, Charlie Naylor, a shorter start and shorter put in a good shift. It's been quite interesting seeing Bello on the wing. I'm not sure if Mitchell changed that up at all. Obviously, on the other side, we've had Imran Khani coming on off the bench. Not sure if he's due a start. That might be interesting. Not sure if Allen's going to be back or not. Iffy Allen. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think we're missing Iffy Allen. I really do. I think he's going to be a massive boost when he comes back.
yeah, and obviously, I'd assume George Nikaj will be out with injury.
Yeah, John Onunga picked up a knock as well against Tunbridge, and I thought he was one of our better players on the pitch. So hopefully he's not out for too long.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what Mitch does. I'd think Dembele might get a chance with George out. So yeah, I mean there'll be some changes, but yeah, standouts I'm sure will be the usual suspects.
Well, so I've done a little bit of research. I had a look at the 3 games that Braintree have done this season already, and bear in mind these are only just highlights because I don't have access to the full 90 minutes, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to. But there's just a few things I've noted. So one of the things is they've scored 5 goals this season, and 2 of them have been from set pieces. One of them was a free kick swinging, and another one was a corner. But
Doesn't bode well for us.
no, but on the contrary, they've also conceded 2 goals from set pieces as well. So if we can make sure we're tight enough in the defensive part of the set piece, which I'm sure Mitch will be looking at, then I think we've got a decent bit of height, and so going forwards, that we should hopefully have a chance because their defense didn't look too tall, from if I remember correctly. So the likes of Nick Dembele especially, and when Naylor goes up for a corner and Mike, I think hopefully we could use that to our advantage. But
Yeah,
another thing I've noticed as well is every time, and I really encourage people to go and watch these highlights and just have a look for what I'm about to say. So every time the opposition puts a ball into the Braintree box, a huge number of Braintree players are in the 18-yard box. And if you look at the heights, you'll notice that there's usually a big gap on the edge of the D area outside the 18-yard box. And I think that could be exploited, having a player there, because there is a couple of times, and again, if you watch the highlights, you'll see that there's just a player unmarked and they're able to just have a shot off. I don't know whether I've just given away their weakness now for everyone to hear, but it's just interesting to have a look at that.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure Mitch has watched their highlights and will be preparing intently for what Braintree will have to throw at us. But yeah,
If you were to do a score prediction now, would you say?
I'd like to see those score lines I mentioned from last season, 3-1, obviously both games. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure we'll probably concede, but I'd like to think we'll get a couple of goals. I might go 2-1 again. That'd be nice, 2-1 win.
Okay, I'm going to go for a 2-0 over win. I think we're due a clean sheet. We haven't had one yet this season. And I'm gonna think Zidane and Nick's gonna get a goal each for the game. But interesting to hear what everyone else's predictions are. Please do let us know. And so that's probably all I've got time for today for this episode. So as always, if you enjoyed it, please do let us know. Let me know how I can improve as well. It's always room for improvements. And I hope to see you all listening next week. So thank you very much, and thank you very much, George, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem at all. All right, take care, mate.
Bye bye.